You are live. Welcome, everyone, to this first nutrition talk. Now, sorry, my eyes are down here, just making sure things are actually rolling here. And it looks like we're ready to go. So, in today's live lesson, again, welcome. I just want to simply talk about setting up the new year for sustainable health, which is typically most people's goals at the start of every year. We all want to be healthier. We see, oh, it's a new year. I'm going to, lose some weight. I'm going to eat healthier. I'm going to stick to this plan. Now, I just want to start this off by just revealing a secret to everyone here. Now, forgive me today, I'm kind of getting used to a couple new things here, but I've implemented some fun things. So if you see my eyes darting away, I'm just trying to, figure things out like this. I got to zoom up. Okay. Cool. So, yes, everyone wants to kind of lose weight and get healthier and get on track. Now, I want to reveal to you a secret that I've discovered over my life through experience and just listening to other people. Now, one of the biggest tips I have for sustaining healthy eating throughout the year and for long term, which is the goal always, is ready for this? Let's just make sure no one's listening to the secret. Okay, so it is to simplify. Simple as that, right? Now, the thing is, when you think of making any change in your life, if it, what was the wording I had come up with this morning? It was like, when you want to make a change, you have to make sure that it's going to be part of your life and not to hinder your life. Now, the thing with healthy eating is we often think we need to really just limit this, limit that, restrict this, make this part of our lives a bit more stressful. Now, that's okay for short term if you really need to. If you have a specific condition, like there's a lot of fad diets out there that do have their place with certain roles and conditions, but for the average person, you don't need to go that crazy. And if you try to go that crazy, you are going to go crazy and you are just going to give up and fail. Not to use the word fail, but I already did. And that's just going to cause you more stress and snowball effects of restarting and restarting. Now, my approach with healthy eating and healthy living is lifelong. And the 10 tips that I'm going to give you in this live stream here, I'm going to go cover this casually. If you want to go more into the science and more in depth and review all of these, check out the links below in the description of this video. That's going to give you my full in depth video of all these 10 tips here. And it's going to give you a handy checklist that you can print out and review all of these 10 tips simply and just make a daily checklist. Did I do this? Did I do this? Am I following this? And just take one or two of these tips at a time. That's totally okay. Just start progressing with these fundamental tips that I'm going to share with you now. Now, I apologize. I did start the stream about 10 minutes or so early. The reason for that is I have a feeling my son will wake up and he wants to play as it's Sunday morning here. But I want to get through these 10 tips. I want to share this with you as this is the first nutrition live talk I've done. I've done a few fermentation ones as I was kind of experimenting and learning, which is one of my goals this year for improving my own health and the health of my families is learning fermentation because what I'm going to be covering in here and also throughout this new year is the importance of gut bacteria, gut health, and the fundamentals of health. Now, please, let me apologize. I do need a sip of water as it's early and I tend to be more thirsty in the morning. Mhm. All right. But, anyways, I want to start off by, before getting into these 10 tips, just sharing who I am and why you can trust these tips. Now, to start off with, I am Kyle, obviously, it's my channel, but I am a functional nutritionist, so I have a deep understanding of how the body works and how food affects it. And how do I know these tips work? Well, let me just back it up and say, not only do I understand the science of health and nutrition, but I've went through a lifelong change of health starting from my youth, where I literally understood zero nutrition, zero health, and I was in poor health due to that. And I've managed to make, just by covering the fundamentals and not even using all the 10 tips I'm covering in this live talk here, I've managed to change and sustain just a healthy body and healthy overall health for the majority of my life ever since. And it's been simple, fun, and enjoyable. And I really want to share that with you guys. Now, to back this up, I do have a photo here. Are you ready for this? This is a photo of me at about 11 or 12 years old, which is when I started to make this change in my life. Now, let's see if I remember which button it is. Okay, 12 years old, roughly around there. Here's me. There you go. 12 years old, myself. Now, this was kind of at the peak of my own health journey where I wanted to make the transition here. And as you can see, well, I was about 211 pounds. I remember that weight very clearly at that point in my life. Now, back then, I knew I was overweight and it kind of kept creeping up, creeping up. And then I was like, those kind of things, they happen so slowly. You don't notice it over time. And then, the scale got to like 180. I was like, oh, 180, that's, sure, whatever. I'm a growing boy. And then it got up to about 200. And then I was like, okay, no, sorry, it was in the 190s. I was like, if I get to 200, then I need to start making a change and looking into this. It broke 200, and then it got to eventually 211. Then it's like, okay, enough's enough. I got to read a book or something and figure this out. Did that, made a few fundamental changes, and that unlocked everything. It just progressed and progressed, and I felt so much better. Not only physically, but the most important thing was mentally. Now, mentally is key for me in health. If you don't have your mental health, then the rest that comes first. And food and good nutrition actually help that significantly in my life, which is why I want to share it with you. And to back this up even more, all of this change, like I ended up losing my weight and getting healthy overall from the fundamentals of health. And after studying functional nutrition, I have a deep understanding of the true fundamentals of health now, gut health and all that. And I'm going to really be sharing that with you this year. I want to just start you guys off and give you in depth on the first step, regardless of your health condition. If you address these fundamentals, which I'm going to be sharing with you throughout this year, you will get much better health and you can do whatever you want from there. But yeah, that's my focus this year, fundamentals of health, which is the most important overall. Now, again, yes, so sustainable change is what we all strive for. And yeah, so let's get into these 10 tips. I'm just reviewing my notes here. Right. Yes. And before we get started, sorry, one more thing here is whatever you want to learn in terms of health, please let me know. Leave a comment on this live stream. Let me know. Like, I'm going to be really focused on sharing the fundamentals as I've stated, because honestly, that's the starting point, regardless of your health condition. And that's going to set you up for long term success, not 30 days, not 2 weeks, the rest of your life. So I'm going to be focused on that. So let me know. Are you interested in gut health? Are you interested in gut bacteria? What interests you? Let me know. I want to help you out. So that's my main purpose with this channel. I want to help you out through these live talks and through the upcoming videos. Now, my personal goals for health this year is I really want to take my nutrition and learn how to cook better. I want to share healthy cooking techniques and how I can make the best nutritious and delicious foods. And I also want to just build up some proper learning resources for you on the fundamentals of health. And my own personal health, again, is to learn how to cook so I can provide better food for myself and my family, increase my fermentation abilities so I can, of course, strengthen my gut health as well. And also, just for me personally, I've noticed eating less in the evenings is a challenge for me. I usually just love to eat a big dinner, but I do notice that when I do so, I have more trouble sleeping. And a little bit of science behind this is when you eat, your blood sugar will go up, especially depending on what you eat. So if you eat more like fat and fiber, it will not peak so much, right? But if you eat more carbs or sugars, it's going to go up. And you're setting yourself up for a line here. And when that line starts to dip, if it's a dramatic dip, such as after you eat a big meal before sleeping, your blood sugar is going to go down and your body's like, hey, we're dropping down. You should wake up. stay up until you can find some more food to bring that back up. Now, that happens to me. I notice if I eat too much before I go to bed, I wake up in the middle of the night far more, and I even have a harder time sleeping. So I want to do that because not only can I just help my body digest and rest when I'm actually sleeping and let my liver and brain do all its detoxing work, because digestion kind of takes priority number one in the body. So we want to kind of let that do its work before we go to bed. So that's kind of my own personal thing. Yeah. So, anyways, let's get on to these 10 tips now. And I've shared my goals with this channel, how I want to help you guys, shared my own little personal goals, and took you back to a blast from the past. I'll do it one more time here. And also, I see there's a few people in the chat here now. So, again, let me know your personal health goals this year, how you want me to help support you through those. And I will plan some content around that because that's ultimately what I want to do. So yes, yeah, before we get into it, again, I've created lifelong healthy changes by following fundamental health starting from here. All right, again, mentioning age 12, 210 pounds, and I had no idea what I was doing back then. But these next 10 tips here are going to help us all out. So let me just get my slides ready to go here, and we'll start with tip number one. All right, here we go. So, rule number one, don't overeat. Now, this one here is very basic. And when you're at a meal, try to stop before you go crazy and try to eat slowly so you can actually recognize when you're full. Now, the main reason for this is that, let me just cut back so you can see me. If you want all of these tips, make sure to see the link below where you can get the full checklist. The full checklist there that covers all these 10 tips. But basically, why you shouldn't overeat is because digestion is extremely stressful for the body, takes all your energy. Now, when you just load up and load up, what you're doing is you're putting a lot of stress on your body and you're taking all the blood flow and energy away from your brain. And that's why the food coma happens. You can't think properly, you get tired because all those resources go there. And honestly, it's just really hard for your body to process all this food, which will eventually even slow down the digestive process because it gets backed up, which can lead to more toxic buildup and just slow down the overall process. We don't want to do that. We want to eat a meal, we want to enjoy it, and just take your time. And you're about to learn why in the next following tips, why eating slowly can not only help you not overeat, but it's also very important for your health as well. So let's move on to tip number two. Now, these are all very simple, very fundamental tips. I'm covering these casually and lightly here. Again, if you want more in-depth detail, please see the video linked below to review. But I'm just sharing with you basic how I'd explain it to someone so you can hopefully understand and be more willing to incorporate it in your life. So let's go to tip number two. As I mentioned, slowing down. All right, so this is going to help with the not overeating thing, but this is actually extremely important for digestion, which most people don't understand. Is okay, by slowing down, you are going to optimize your digestive system and metabolism to obtain more nutrients from your meal. Now, what is that all about? So basically, when you slow down to eat, your brain has more time to tell your digestive system that, hey, food is coming. Prepare the system to kind of get through and break down that fuel. For example, when you're chewing, you're breaking down the food physically, so you're making it smaller and easier for your digestive tract to absorb the nutrients within. And not only that, your saliva contains a lot of enzymes, and those enzymes further, not physically, but chemically break down the nutrients within your food. So, by taking the time to do this, after you swallow, not only is it going to be your intestines and everything are going to be ready to take in this food, but that food and the nutrients has already been pre-digested properly because you've chewed it, your saliva has broken it down even more, and you can literally get more nutrients from the food you're eating this way. So when you have all this chewed stuff coming down, your brain is ready and your intestines are absorbing this. Like if you just quickly eat it and you're like, bop, 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 swallow, there's no saliva in there. It's not broken down physically. So it kind of just goes its way through. And that can cause pain in the digestive process. And that broccoli or whatever you just ate, hopefully broccoli, that's a good choice. the nutrients aren't broken down, so your intestines have a much harder time, if at all, can actually get into those nutrients. So we really want to take the time to enjoy the food and let our bodies actually absorb it. Now, here's a really interesting thing that's just coming to mind now. When you slow down and eat it, you're actually enjoying it because when you're hungry, your body's not only nutritionally wanting these nutrients, wanting this food, but actually your brain mentally wants pleasure. Now, this is an interesting concept that I've found really fascinating to read. If you're not getting the pleasure from when you're eating, if you're just scarfing things down, while you're on the road or just doing distracted, watching a movie or something, if you're not actually focusing on the food you're eating, your brain doesn't experience the pleasure that it's also craving. And that can lead you to being full, but wanting to eat more. Now, that's a common issue if you don't focus. So I just want you to be aware of that, okay? All right, so let's move on to tip number three, which is dun, 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 balance your blood sugar. All right, so this kind of goes into balancing your meal, but basically, what you want to do is when you're eating a meal, you want to really balance it so that you have slow digesting food. Now, this kind of goes into what I was talking about. Sorry, slow digesting food, let me just back it up, is fiber, protein, and healthy fats. Now, when you eat a meal that's really heavily based on carbs, such as like a lot of bread, a lot of just plain rice or noodles or whatever, but you're not having the proper protein, fat, and fiber along with that, your blood sugar is going to go ramping up because those foods are more so processed and are absorbed and digested very quickly. Now, what that's going to do is, I'm just going to quickly check that out. Okay, perfect. So what that's going to do is that's going to quickly get your blood sugar level up, which is going to provide you some quick energy, but you're going to crash. And when your body has this rise and fall really dramatically, it's going to cause more hunger cravings and energy dips very rapidly throughout the day. And what that's going to do is your energy levels going to just we want a steady, right? But when it's going up and down, you're going to have a dip and you're going to get tired and just have those like, oh, I need a nap, I need to lay down. You're not going to sustain your energy throughout the day. And not only that, when your blood sugar dips down really dramatically, your body's like, hey, we need to eat something again because we're losing this quick and we want to get back up there. So, by eating more protein, fat, and fiber as the base of your meal, your blood sugar level is going to go up. Of course, you can't avoid that when you eat, and that's a good thing. But we want it to be sustained and not have these dramatic dips and valleys. And what that's going to do is that's not only going to make your meal more nutritious, it's going to give you better energy levels throughout the day consistently, and your appetite's not going to be up, down all throughout the day. It's going to be like, oh, our blood sugar's going down, but you know what? This pace is okay. This is natural. Our body understands that. So we're not going to be hungry an hour later. And we're not going to be craving some mad sugary thing again. So, anyways, balance those blood sugars. And again, blood sugar is a big issue these days. And I feel like just balancing your meal can help so much with this. And so many people, like when I go to a restaurant, for example, I'm always just shocked. It's like, wow, this meal is like pure carbs. I'm going to be starving after this. This isn't nutritious. So, really just work on balancing your meals. That's a huge tip. All right, so let's get into the next tip here. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to pop in a chat, comment, let me know. We can dive into something there. But I just really want to provide you a quick overview of these 10 fundamentals of healthy eating, in my opinion, here. So let's go on to boom, diversify your diet. Now, this one is fun, and this is something that um, it's just really fun, especially if you're just starting to change your eating habits. Now, when you diversify your diet, there's a lot of reasons to do. So let me just talk here. Sorry, I'm really thirsty in the morning. I'll take a sip after this tip. By diversifying your diet. So here's the deal. Your body requires a lot of different nutrients and bacteria and enzymes from the food that you eat. And it requires so many of these variables here for maintaining optimal health. Now, if you just stick to the same foods every day, you're really limiting this. Now, for example, if you want to get for example, like let's just say vitamin A, you're trying to heal your gut lining or your mucous membranes. I know that sounds kind of weird, But vitamin A is a really critical nutrient from that. But if you're just eating a specific set of foods, maybe one of those foods contains vitamin A, but in a little amount. But if you're limiting, like, oh, let's just eat some more grass fed butter or some eggs, that's going to have a bit more vitamin A. But if you're limiting, like, oh, I'm not going to be eating eggs, or I'm not going to be eating this, you're kind of limiting your opportunity to grab the same nutrients from different sources or different bacteria and enzymes from different vegetables types. And your body's going to be lacking these. So we really want to just diversify. um, I'm doing a poor example. I apologize of explaining this, but really, let me just simplify and just say the more different types of foods you eat, the more vitamins, minerals, enzymes, and bacteria you're going to get, which are all supportive of your health. And your overall health requires a lot of different nutrients. So, the more you can diversify, not only can you eat more and vary your meals, but you can really just help provide your body with the nutrients it needs. Okay, so that one's a really important one, and it just makes things more fun. Now, when I first started learning healthy eating, of course, it's easier to transition by just having a preset of, okay, I'm only going to eat this, this, this. That's my meal plan. That's fine for a little bit, but once you learn what foods you like, you really just want to add and alternate to really help diversify, especially to feed your gut bacteria, which I will get into more so in upcoming videos here. But yeah, have fun with it. And I remember my own journey. Like, I stuck with like a few very basic things, and I remember just like implementing. I was so bad. Like, I took a bite of an apple because I was eating a lot of more cookies and stuff like that, and I was like, okay, I want to get into fruit, and an apple didn't taste sweet at all to me, and I just was like, okay, I'm just going to keep eating this apple. And nowadays, my taste buds change. Your taste buds would too, if you're not used to eating Oreos all the time. And the apple tasted really sweet to me now. And apples are obviously loaded with a lot more beneficial nutrients than cookies. So keep diversifying, and maybe your palate will change too, right? And then you can incorporate more. I do see a comment here. Any tricks to shedding pounds? How did chubby Kyle become tall and lean Kyle? Well, tips on shedding pounds? Yes. First of all, by following these 10 healthy eating tips, you will naturally, I believe, depending on where you're starting, it's really hard to give like generic advice for shedding weight to anyone because everyone starts in a different place. And there may be a difference between person A and person B. Like, person A could be very simply just like, oh, you're drinking soda pop every day. Eliminate that, and you're going to start shedding pounds because you're going to be dropping the sugar, and that's going to make a huge difference. But person B could already be not having sugar at all and eating a pretty healthy diet, but maybe there's one or two issues that they have unique to themselves that's causing them to be retaining weight. But I'll give you three very basic tips that I feel like is a good starting point. Now, again, keep in mind that shedding weight will naturally happen. The more you discover the more you kind of like clean up your diet, and the more that you work with your specific health issues, because there's a lot of different reasons why people retain weight, which I am actually working on writing right now. But yeah. So, for example, what I would say, three top tips is eliminate sugar and refined flour from your diet. That's going to be a huge one. Those alone is probably one of the main reasons why I feel like a lot of people retain weight. And eat a balanced diet of whole foods. And that's actually one of the tips here coming up. Now, the reason why I say whole foods, and let me just back it up, a balanced diet is with every meal, you want to base it with protein, fat, and fiber. If you can do that, and all of those nutrients are based on whole foods, you're going to have no problems. And the reason why I'm confidently saying that is because protein, fat, and fiber is required to keep you full and keep you full for a long time. And those are providing your body the nutrients it needs to actually operate. And it's not going to keep you retaining weight, because when you're eating a lot of sugars and carbs, you're getting a lot of calories and a lot of blood sugar spikes, which makes you hungrier. So you're going to keep eating throughout the day, but you're getting no nutrients from it. And it's actually stealing nutrients from your body when you're eating refined carbs and refined sugars. I do have a video on that as well, which I can put a link to in here. But yeah, and whole foods. The reason why I'm saying whole foods is because whole foods are clean. Your body understands it. They have all the nutrients that your body needs to digest them as well. So when you eat a whole food, they're clean. They don't have all this toxic garbage and just like chemically processed stuff. And the reason why a lot of people do retain weight, aside from calories, is because of all this processed food and additives in the food, because your body doesn't know what that is. And your body's going to hold on to that. Your liver actually will create and store that in your body because it's like, what is this toxic stuff? This isn't food. It'll store it in fat cells until it can cleanse that out. So, again, aside from calories, the toxic buildup will is like another huge aspect of why people retain weight. So, anyways, I'm rambling and I tend to do that. I apologize, but eat more whole foods, balance your meals, and focus on drinking water as your beverage and eliminate processed sugar and flour as much as possible. Now, I hope I didn't just speak too much to it, but those are my first starting points that I would recommend to anyone. And I guarantee that's going to make a big difference. So I hope that helps. And if you need any advice on any of those tips, let me know, and maybe we can find like a step one in terms of that. So let me get back to my slides here. Tip four, diversify. We had covered that. I'm going to go through here. Tip five. Oh, look at that. Whole foods first. Now, this is a huge tip for healthy eating that I would recommend for anyone. Whole foods are unrefined and contain all the energy and nutrients your body needs to digest them. And they allow you to feel more full and satisfied. I kind of just covered all that stuff, but basically, whole foods avoid being in what's called the anti-nutrient category. Now, an anti-nutrient is, for example, there are some whole foods that do contain this, but there's ways of cooking out these anti-nutrients. But I won't get into that here. But basically, a processed food, for example, let's just say sugar, it's an anti-nutrient. And what that means is when you eat it, so many of the minerals that are required to digest that sugar have been stripped away from it, and your body needs that to process it. So it's going to steal those minerals from your bones, your body within to help digest it, and that's going to leave you in a poor state of health. And aside from that, it's going to leave you hungrier because now you're lacking even more nutrients, right? So what we really want to do is provide our body the nutrients it needs so that we can eliminate our appetite and our need for more food. And sorry, which one was this? Whole foods first, yeah. And whole foods contain all the nutrients you need to digest them. There's no chemical additives to it, and your body knows what to do with it, basically. And they contain all the side ingredients that they need to benefit. For example, there's, just to put this into a little bit more perspective, there's certain vitamins that are fat soluble. And what that means is you can take in these vitamins, but if you don't take them with fat, then your body can't actually properly absorb them. Now, when you're eating a whole food, it contains all those side nutrients to absorb all the rest of them together. And that's going to leave you feeling more satisfied and full. And it's just generally healthier and cleaner for you. So, whole foods. And what I mean by whole foods, I should clarify as well, is basically a simple ingredient. So, think of this. When you walk through the produce aisle, you see a potato, pick up that potato. That's a whole food. It's one thing. Pick up an avocado, that's a whole food. It's one thing. A piece of chicken, that's a whole food. It's one thing. It's unprocessed. Well, aside from being like cut up, right? Or whatnot, that's fine. But it's unprocessed. Nothing's been stripped away from it. It's not refined. It's a simple food. And that's what we're designed to eat. And that's the best nutrient for our bodies. Okay, moving on. Tip number 6. Let's cut to it. Balance your meals. I've kind of covered this in a few ways, but let me just quickly do this because this is a simple checklist item more so. So when you're going through your day and you're preparing your meals, one of the biggest things is just to make it balanced. Now, I've covered this a few times throughout this live stream so far. Basically, what I'm saying is when you're making a meal, you want to make sure that you're eating a protein. Protein is essential for so many things in the body. You want good skin, even. You got to eat your protein because protein regenerates. And guess what? Protein in your skin, the collagen, that's a part of it, requires protein to stay plump and have you having good, soft, elastic skin. Anyways, if you want to rebuild your cells, regrow, everything requires protein. Okay, so that's a huge nutrient that you need, not only for muscle builders. Okay, and then you want fiber. Fiber is essential for feeding your gut and for actually detoxing. It's sweeping out through your intestines, taking out all that junk. You need that stuff. And fiber, actually, if you want to have good, like everyone talks about prebiotics, probiotics, which I believe there's a tip in here as well. You need to eat fibers because that's going to be a type of prebiotic which feeds your gut bacteria, which helps keep the healthy bacteria alive in there, providing you all the healthy benefits of probiotics that everyone's raving about these days. So fiber is essential, and it also makes you feel full. We need it. Protein, fiber, and fat. Now, fat is essential for so many things, especially your brain health. We need fat for our brains and even to balance our hormones, believe it or not. It's a huge thing. So, yeah, we need good fats in our life for so many good reasons, which I believe I have a video on that as well. But if not, I'm going to be doing more fundamental deep dives in that. And then, of course, carbs, they do play a role. Like carbs are great. Just make sure they're from whole food sources as much as possible, unrefined, and because, yeah, they just help provide you energy, which is another good reason. But again, make sure they're the smallest part of your meals. I find too many people have them as like the base, and that's no good for long term satiation, feeling full, and they don't provide you with a lot of the core nutrients that your body needs. They're good for energy, but the protein, fat, and fiber are good. I'd say like better for overall health in general. So please make sure those are the base of your meal. So let's move on to tip number 7. Boom. Avoid toxic foods. Okay, now this here, Rosalie, you had commented on how to lose weight. This is another good key aspect to this. Now, toxic foods such as bad fats. What I mean by bad fats are the trans fats and plant oils. I'll get into that in a second. Artificial sweeteners, high fructose corn syrups, refined sugars and flours. These are all not made for your body. Okay, they're made to preserve food. They're made to make food cheaper to produce. But again, they're not made for your body. Your body doesn't really know how to handle this, and in turn, it harms you. Now, for example, when you're eating bad fats, such as highly refined plant oils, which and trans fats, those are no good for your body at all. Basically, yes, they're lower in cholesterol, which might be a selling point for some of them, but honestly, cholesterol is good for you, especially coming from a healthy fat. And low cholesterol is not worth it in this aspect because what you're doing is you're unbalancing your fat ratios. You need omega 3s, omega 6s, but omega 6s are good for you coming from healthy whole foods. But when they're coming from these refined plant oils, they're way skyrocketed, which is going to cause extreme inflammation throughout the body. And it's going to actually wrap and damage your fat cells in your body, limiting the communication between them, such as your brain cells. Because it's going to, what happens is when you're eating these fats, when you have the damaged fats, it's going to coat your fat cells. And when you're eating a healthy fat, it's also going to coat your fat cells. But when their fat cells are coated with these bad damaged fats, they can't communicate properly, they stiffen up, they're rigid, no good. They're utterly useless at that point. So that's why we want to have good omega 3s, good healthy fats that coat our fat cells, build up the communication, make them elasticized, that's a word, make them soft and penetrable so that nutrients can go in and out and they can communicate properly. That's extremely important. You want a healthy brain, eat healthy fats to keep those cells plump, juicy, and receptive. I'm going to dive more into that too in my fundamental videos coming up. And also, these bad fats, like such as trans fats, I believe these are supposed to be illegal now, but they're still in there in minimal amounts. There's like a certain percentage depending on what country it is. But yeah, the trans fats, honestly, completely synthetic. And if they get into your body, they're going to clog up your blood and they make your blood sticky, which leads to arteries getting clogged up and all this stuff. We really don't want that. When it comes to artificial sweeteners and all that other stuff, again, it's pure chemical. Your body isn't made to eat chemicals, it's made to eat food. It's a very simple mindset to wrap your head around. And the more you can feed your body what it needs, just in general, it's going to be healthier. Now, these artificial sweeteners and other things like that basically just get left dumped on your liver because again, it's not a nutrient. Your body can't absorb it and make any use of it. Dump it on your liver, store it in more fat cells. Who knows what happens? It's just in general no good. It'll eventually go through your body, circulate. It can damage brains. Yeah, stay away from that stuff. Okay. Example of a healthy fat. Oh, great question. Thank you for asking. Healthy fats in general, they are going to be in the omega-3 categories. Now, again, omega-6s are included in foods, but you want to sorry, you want to stick to omega-3 rich foods, such as healthy fats. Think of salmon, think of fish. They're high in omega-3s, and that's a natural fat. And healthy fats, again, in eggs. Eggs contain a lot of fats, but they're all very well balanced and in very good for you within the egg yolks. That's all good fats. Think of healthy butter. Even healthy butter has good fats. Now, here's a very important thing, though, which I'm gonna wrap around to. I'm just thinking like healthy meat. And if you're a meat eater, meat from a healthy animal, that's going to contain healthy fats. If you're not a meat eater, think of nuts like walnuts. Basically, like any healthy nuts is going to contain your good fats. So just think of like a whole food that has higher fat, like avocados that contains healthy fats as well. What else? Hemp seeds are really high in omega-3s actually for non-animal based fat. So just think of food that's higher in fat, but from a healthy animal. Now, this is important because when you're thinking of eggs and butter, those are obviously like high sources of fat. Oh, yeah, and olive oil. Sorry, if you have inflammation, eating extra virgin organic olive oil is going to really help reduce inflammation. It's a really healthy fat, really good for your body. Anyways, let me cycle back to this. Now, I could tell you right now that butter or eggs is a healthy fat. However, if it's coming from an animal that's sick, it's not so much a healthy fat. So, in an animal, here's just a very quick tip I'm going to share with you. If you're buying just generic, cheaper butter, the animal, if it's sick, that's what it comes from. It has antibiotics and other bad feed that the animal's not meant to eat. And all the toxins get stored in your fat. That's why humans get overweight when they're eating all these chemicals, because all those toxins are stored in fat. Same thing for animals. And when you're eating the fat from these animals that have all these toxins in it, guess what you're eating? Toxins. You're not eating the healthy vitamins like stuff. Sure, there might be a little bit in there, but you're coming with a lot of stuff that your body doesn't need. And again, the butter is not going to have as much healthy omega-3s. It's going to have more omega-6s because that animal's inflamed from all the toxins. So keep in mind, yes, it's worth spending more money on your groceries because you are investing in your own health as well and supporting the farmers who are actually raising healthy animals. So that's very important. Okay, so let's go on to tip number 8. I hear my son's footsteps upstairs, so I'm gonna try to gonna have to wrap this up a little bit quicker. But anyways, okay. Tip number 8: drink water instead of juice and other sugary beverages. Now this here, okay, water is essential. Now, I feel like a lot of people don't drink enough water. Now, water is not only good to hydrate your body, obviously, it's the best thing to hydrate your body with, but it's extremely important for your brain health to keep your brain hydrated and digestive health. Now, I've covered this, I believe, in another video. Just search for water on the channel. But the more water you drink, the better you're going to actually help your stomach have a better acid balance and mucus coating to protect from the acid. So if you're having ulcers and stuff like that, when you do lack this mucus in your stomach, not only is your stomach less protected from the acids within, but it also has less digestive abilities. And the water is going to help coat all your intestines with all the mucus that it needs. It really just helps the mucosal lining of everything so the food can be absorbed better, your digestive system's better protected, and it helps your body just overall, it's better for your health. Again, now when you're drinking instead of water, like sugary drinks, when you're drinking sugar, that's the fastest absorbing like way to get sugar into your body. It causes the fastest spike in blood sugar, again, which we want to avoid. And it's just providing your body with calories it doesn't need and without the fiber and actual nutrients it needs along with those calories. So it's really not a good idea. Um, Again, okay, yeah, so and also when you're drinking the sugar, it actually goes faster down your intestines and it'll reach your lower intestines where it's not really supposed to go. And that can actually lead to bad bacterial overgrowth down there. And yeah, so we want to, when we're eating sugar from natural whole foods, for example, like an apple or some figs or something like that, it comes with the fiber and it's digested properly throughout. But when you're just drinking this, there's no fiber coming with it. It's going right down there, feeding possibly bad bacteria down there in your gut, which we do not need. And that's why when we ferment foods, we throw sugar in there because that's feeding the bacteria to grow. And that will happen in your gut. And if it's feeding the wrong bacteria, because it's getting there in too high quantities or where it's not really supposed to go, not so good for you. And also, like, take for example, alcohol. That's a higher sugary, faster digesting liquid, and that can actually be absorbed so quickly that even in the stomach, before it even reaches the intestine, it seeps out into your blood, and that'll make you drunk. Which is, could be a good thing, it could be a bad thing, but just keep in mind that yes, you are getting drunk, but all the sugar from that alcohol as well is leaking out and being really quickly digested at the same time. So keep that in mind. And oh yeah, another thing is if you're properly hydrated and drinking water, you will in general feel more full and satisfied at your meal. Okay, and also another tip: if you're eating a meal, don't guzzle a ton of water at the same time. That's going to really wash down things and kind of not be so good for absorption. So try to drink, sip throughout your meal. That's fine. Drink before or after, but don't like guzzle and guzzle as you're eating. Not the best idea. Tip number 8. Did I already do that one? I did. Let's go to tip number 9. Okay, bacteria is your friend, not your foe. Yes. Now, this one's really fun. Okay, for me, especially as I'm learning more about fermentation these days. Yeah, so fermented foods. Everyone tends to fear bacteria. We're always like, oh, wash your hand. Of course, you gotta wash your hands sometimes, but oh, so much food is pasteurized these days. And when you think about the typical diet, a lot of people aren't eating fermented foods. You're not eating live foods. Now, when you're eating more whole foods, you're going to get more bacteria, which your body really does need. It's so important. If you can find a way, if you can find any fermented foods that you like, please just start to incorporate this into your diet within every meal if possible. Just a bite. Just start slow, and you really just want to keep the bacteria in your gut healthy, fed, and refed. That's going to provide your body with so much more health, just overall health. It not only affects your digestive health, but also your mental health. It's the key. Like our bodies, I believe the ratio is like 10 times more bacteria cells than human cells. And the better that you can keep those bacterial cells fed and well and replenished, the better they're going to serve your overall health and body. So really, if there's example of fermented food for bacteria, good question. Anything pickled vegetables, that's a really one that I'm actually working on a lot these days. So if you can find any type of pickled vegetable that you like, that's a really good starting point. And not only is the pickled vegetable like you don't have to love sauerkraut or whatever. Like, do you like pickles? Do you like sauerkraut? Do you like yogurt? That's a really like simple starting point. Everyone tends to like yogurt. Start there. That has some good bacteria in there. What else? Yeah, like yogurt's a really good one. any pickled vegetable, any fermented vegetable of any kind, and take, if you don't like fermented vegetables so much, it's really simple to just take a scoop of the brine, like the liquid that it's in, put that into a salad dressing and like pour it a little bit onto your whatever meal you're eating. And that's a really good starting point to help ease your body into the bacteria. But just make sure when you're buying fermented foods, like a pickled vegetable, make sure that it's actually not just, when you read the ingredients, make sure it's salt and water, because salt and water means it's actually been fermented and has the beneficial bacteria. If you read it and it's got vinegar and all this other stuff in it, the bacteria is pretty much dead. It's not properly fermented. It has the sour taste, but not so good. Yeah, and again, if you like bread, try to eat a sourdough bread. That's going to have more bacteria because the bread itself is fermented. Yeah, so there's all that kind of stuff. And of course, when you're eating fermented food and bacteria, eating more fiber in your diet is going to help feed those bacteria to stay alive in your gut longer and better. Okay, so let's move on. I feel like there's, oh yeah, in terms of beverages, if you do like something sweet, try some kombucha. That has a lot of other like sources of probiotics right there, and it's typically a more pleasurable experience. It's a fruity beverage most times, right? Just make sure it's not loaded with a lot of added sugars, and you're good to go. Okay, so let's go on to 10 and pop it in. This last one, don't starve yourself. This one is pretty straightforward, and I feel like a lot of people can relate to it. So, say for example, you go too long without eating, or you're just really busy that day or whatnot, and you just reach a point of starvation. Now, I've also heard a lot of people say, like, oh, I'm eating a big dinner tonight, I'm just going to skip lunch. Yeah, okay. But when you reach that point of starvation, by the time you get to dinner, you have a very poor state of making healthy food decisions. You're like, I am starving. Or if you miss a meal just due to busyness, you're starving. You're just going to grab whatever you see, unhealthy or not, and just start pounding the food. Now, of course, this is life. We can't avoid this at all times. Just be aware of this. And when you can control it, just make sure to stabilize. Like, okay, say you're eating a huge dinner that night, it's Christmas dinner, whatever. Maybe just eat a lighter lunch at least. And that way you can enjoy your afternoon. You have some balanced energy. And when you get to dinner, you can make better choices because you're not like, I am just famished. Give me this, give me that, give me a ton of that. And then at that point, when you reach your next meal, you're going to be eating slower, getting more digestive abilities, and just taking the time to chew and enjoy your meal. Um, and again, so to avoid this, if you know you're going to be super busy, try to prepare. Thanks for all the food examples. Oh, you're welcome. No problem. I'm sorry, I might be forgetting some other things to mention. But again, I do have a more in-depth video on this linked in the description below, and I will be diving more into each of these 10 tips in more fundamental one-off videos and guides in the near future. That's my goal this year, to help provide all of you with all of these tips broken down into the fundamentals of good health in proper detail and actionable detail, because action is how you actually create change and momentum, which leads to long-term success. Now, my goal with all these tips as well is to make, I got to get into this. Sorry, I'm supposed to be talking about don't starve yourself. Okay, so yeah, and again, we all know the hungrier you are, you're going to be hungry. Hangry is like the term where you're angry and just starving to reach for anything unhealthy or not. Pretty straightforward tip, but just make sure if you know you're going to be busy, plan ahead. It's not rocket science. If you can plan ahead and just say, I'm going to pack a snack today. Simple as that. It's like brushing your teeth. A lot of people say, oh, I don't have time to prepare a snack. It's like, really? Can you boil an egg? It's bring a boiled egg or something. It's not that big a deal. Or some nuts or something. Just bring something to munch on. It's pretty simple. Um, no excuses, people. Okay, that is the 10 quick and easy tips for creating sustainable, healthy eating throughout the year. Now, I know, regardless of how simple a tip is, um, creating change in your life and changing your habits is difficult. I get it. It's like even just saying, okay, I'm going to drink water. That's one thing that can take you a week or two just to get a handle of, depending on where you're starting from. Everyone starts in a different place. Speaking of water, I haven't had my sip yet. But, anyways, I really suggest at this point, um, my thing is beeping. At this point, if you can just go into the description, get your 10 tips download, print it off and put it on your fridge, put it somewhere where you can see it. Choose one tip a week, even. Like, start simple. If you can master one tip a week, that's great. If you can choose and say, oh, I like tip number one, tip number two, tip number seven, choose those three tips and work on it this week. And by the end of it, if you can literally just master these 10 tips throughout this year of eating, I guarantee you're going to feel better. You're gonna lose some weight, depending on, like, I know a lot of people's main goals are weight loss or just like overcoming health. If you can master these 10 tips, then I guarantee your health is going to improve. And not only this, you might see someone say, oh, but this person, this year, they started this year off and they've lost 10 pounds already and they're on this diet for this month or whatever. Yes, that can happen, and that's fine, and congratulations to them. But a lot of times it's not sustainable. Like, ask them, what are you doing? Oh, okay. Can you do that for the rest of your life? Probably not. And what happens after your 1 or 2 months of this? What are you going to do? You're going to go back to your old default ways. So many times this happens, which completely eliminates all of these 10 tips that are sustainable that you've gone ahead and mastered. And look at this one, by the end of the year, you're not only healthier than where you started, but you're sustaining this in a simple way. That's the whole point. It's, yeah, like with health, you don't want to be healthy for a month. You want to be healthy for the rest of your life and enjoy it. So that's really what my goal is with this channel, to provide tips with you that can help you do that. And again, as I mentioned, I'm super stoked to be creating all of this with you guys. And again, feel free to comment on this video. Let me know what you want more of this year, what your personal struggles are, and we can work together on this. I can come in into another live talk about your specific struggles, and how are these tips going for you? Let me know if you need any advice, further breakdown of the tip. I'd be happy to share in an upcoming thing. We can talk together and work our ways through this. I'm really excited. I'm going to be sharing a lot more as I come into the future months here. And I'm also going to be really diving deep into the study of how I can take nutrition into proper fun cooking, so that not only can you learn which nutrients you need to heal whatever issues you have and the basics of healthy eating, but how you can enjoyably take in these nutrients through the delivery of healthy, delicious foods. Now, I just want to share something with you guys as well. Okay, I'm a parent, and this is one issue that I want to help address. Is when I'm at the park with my kid, I see a lot of kids and parents sharing these snacks that are just pure processed. And a lot of times, parents would ask me, because they know I'm into nutrition, what should I feed my kid? How can I best support them? One of my main tips is go to the playground, look around at all these processed snacks that they're feeding their kids, and just don't feed them this. I want to help share with parents healthy treats and snacks that you can give your kids that are actually nutrients. Like, when you're feeding your kids, just stick to whole foods as much as possible, or make them like healthy cookies or whatever it is. Just like when you see these processed things as pure sugar and food coloring, if you can just avoid those kind of snacks for your kids, you're going to do well. You want to feed your kids real food because their bodies need it as they're growing. That's my biggest tip. Totally side note. I just get so scared, like, oh no, don't eat that. But that's just me. I'm weird, but I'm also in support of the best health of kids and everyone around me. So that's what I want to do. That's my side ramble there. Again, if you have any specific health issues or questions on these, please let me know. Go download your checklist, choose your tip this week. Choose one or two of them, as many as you can. Share with me if you have any issues with them, and I'd be glad to help. And we'll reconnect on another live stream here in the future. And I'd love to help you out even more, and we can discuss more fundamentals of good health as we continue. Now, the website healthynacks.com, I'm currently developing to be a platform where I can provide you with more in depth guides on the fundamentals of good health, and where you can get this article here in more detail with all these tips and your download. But it's a little bit messy at the moment as I'm very busy these days, but I'm trying to get to it as much as I can. So I'll see you in the next. Thanks for watching. I hope these tips have helped you, and I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope I didn't ramble. I'm really trying to work on my delivery methods here. But yeah, I'm doing the best I can to help make every year sustainably healthier and more enjoyable for myself and my family, and for you guys as well. The more you, I hope. So, yeah, please join me again in the future and we'll discuss more good, healthy tips and address your questions. All right, I'll see you then. Ending stream.